Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. Today's quiz is going to be about the book of Exodus, so let's get started. 1. What did the Israelites call the bread God gave them in the wilderness? Unleavened bread, manna, bread of angels, or bread of life? Manna, Exodus 16:31, and the house of Israel called its name manna, and it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. 2. Which king did God harden his heart to showcase his power? King Pharaoh, King Cyrus, King Nebuchadnezzar, or King Darius? King Pharaoh, Exodus 10:20, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the children of Israel go. 3. What did Moses break when he saw the Israelites worshiping the golden calf? A golden calf, altar, his staff, or tablets of the law? Tablets of the law, Exodus 32:19. So it was as soon as he came near the camp that he saw the calf and the dancing. So Moses' anger became hot, and he cast the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. 4. What did Moses' face do after speaking with the Lord? His face shone, face aged, face grew dark, or his face changed? His face shone. Exodus 34:29-30. Now it was so when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and the two tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand when he came down from the mountain, that Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone. 5. How were the Israelites to deal with leftovers from a Passover lamb? They were to eat them the next day, they were to burn them with fire, they were to bury them, or they were to share with the poor. They were to burn them with fire. Exodus 12:10. You shall let none of it remain until morning, and what remains of it until morning you shall burn with fire. 6. Who passed over the blood-stained houses at night? Angel of death, the Lord, angel of mercy, or angel of life? The Lord, Exodus 12:23. For the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the two doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to strike you. 7. What event did the Passover mark? Giving of the law, beginning of the wilderness journey, deliverance from Egypt, or the first harvest? Deliverance from Egypt, Exodus 12:27, that you shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, who passed over the house of the children of Israel in Egypt when he struck the Egyptians and delivered our households. So the people bowed their heads and worshipped. 8. What did the Israelites use to apply Passover blood on the doorposts? Brooms, reeds, hyssop, or brushes? Hyssop, Exodus 12:22, and you shall take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two doorposts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out of the door of his house until morning. 9. What animal was used as a Passover lamb? Sheep or goat? Sheep only, goat only, or a cow? Sheep or goat, Exodus 12:5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. 10. Who was Amram, father of Moses, priest of Midian, king of Egypt, or warrior in Israel? father of Moses, Exodus 6:20. Now Amram took for himself Jochebed, his father's sister, as wife, and she bore him Aaron and Moses, and the years of the life of Amram were 137. 11. Where did the Egyptians seek for water after the rivers were turned to blood? They dug around the river for fresh water, they bought water from other nations, fetched from wells, or gathered rainwater. They dug around the river for fresh water. Exodus 7:24. So all the Egyptians dug all around the river for water to drink, because they could not drink the water of the river. 12. Which of the following diseases struck the Egyptians as a plague? Fever, leprosy, boils, or blindness? Boils. Exodus 9:9-10. Then they took ashes from the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moses scattered them toward heaven, and they caused boils that break out in sores on man and beast. 13. How old was Aaron when he stood with Moses before Pharaoh? 80, 73, 90, or 83? Exodus 7:7. And Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 years old when they spoke to Pharaoh. 14. What was the brazen altar at the entrance of the tabernacle used for? Burning incense, cleansing ceremony, lighting lamps, or burnt offering? Burnt offering. Exodus 40:29. And he put the altar of burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and offered upon it burnt offering and the grain offering, as the Lord had commanded Moses. 15. What was the content of the laver? Oil, water, wine, or incense? Water. Exodus 30:18. He shall also make a laver of bronze, which its base also of bronze for washing. You shall put it between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and you shall put water in it. 16. What material was used to make the ephod? Wool, goat's hair, linen, or silk? Linen. Exodus 28:6. And they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen, artistically worked. 17. Which part of the priestly garment had the words holiness to the Lord inscribed? Breastplate, ephod, sash, or turban? Turban. Exodus 28:36. You shall also make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it, like the engraving of a signet, holiness to the Lord, and you shall put it on a blue cord, that it may be on the turban. It shall be on the front of the turban. 18. What does Exodus 20 talk about? Ten Commandments. Exodus 20 lists the 10 commandments given to Moses by God. 19. What happened every time Moses' hands were down when the Israelites fought the Amalekites? Battle was even, Amalekites prevailed, sun stood still, or Israelites prevailed? Amalekites prevailed. Exodus 17:11. And so it was when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. 20. What was the anointing oil used for? Cooking, lighting lamps, consecrating priests, or healing? Consecrating priests. Exodus 30:30. And you shall anoint Aaron and his sons and consecrate them, that they may minister to me as priests. 21. Miriam was a prophetess. True. Exodus 15:20. Then Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. 22. How often did the priests burn incense? Twice a day, once a month, once a year, or once a week? Twice a day, Exodus 37 through 8. Aaron shall burn on it sweet incense every morning. When he tends the lamps, he shall burn incense on it. And when Aaron lights the lamps at twilight, he shall burn incense on it, a perpetual incense before the Lord. 23. What did Aaron request from the Israelites for him to make the golden calf? Their weapons, jewelry, firstborn, or livestock. Their jewelry, Exodus 32:2. And Aaron said to them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. 24. Why did the Israelites ask Aaron for the golden calf? They wanted a new leader, they were celebrating a festival, Moses stayed longer in the mountain, or they wanted to return to Egypt. Moses stayed longer in the mountain, Exodus 32:1. Now when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron, and said to him, come, make us gods that shall go before us. 25. What instructions did God give about Mount Sinai as preparation to meet the people? Offer sacrifices on the mountain, wash their clothes and be ready, set boundaries around the mountain, or build an altar at the base of the mountain. Set boundaries at the mountain, Exodus 19:12 through 13. You shall set bounds for the people all around, saying, take heed to yourselves that you do not go up to the mountain or touch its base. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. 26. How were the Israelites to eat the Passover? Sitting down with their families, singing and dancing, lying down leisurely, or standing up with belts on their waists? Standing up with belts on their waists, Exodus 12:11. And thus you shall eat it, with a belt on your waist, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, so you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. 27. During what time of the day did the Israelites collect manna? Noon, evening, morning, or midnight? Morning, Exodus 16:21. So they gathered it every morning, every man according to his need, and when the sun became hot, it melted. 28. What was the shape of manna likened to? Wheat grain, coriander seed, mustard seed, or snowflakes? Coriander seed, Exodus 16:31. And the house of Israel called its name manna, and it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. 29. In which mountain did the Israelites meet God? Mount Sinai, Exodus 19:11. And let them be ready for the third day, for on the third day the Lord will come down upon Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. 30. What was God's voice compared to as he spoke to the congregation at Mount Sinai? Whisper, still small voice, rushing wind, or thunder? Thunder, Exodus 20:18. Now all the people witnessed the thunderings with lightning flashes, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they trembled and stood afar off. 31. What else did the Israelites do besides worshiping the golden calf? Feasted and played, offered sacrifices to God, prayed for forgiveness, or sacrificed to the idol. Feasted and played, Exodus 32:6. Then they rose early on the next day, offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. 32. How did God's presence accompany the Israelites at night? As a cloud, pillar of fire, star, or shadow? Pillar of fire, Exodus 13:21. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. 33. What did the Israelites do after crossing the Red Sea? Offered sacrifices, built an altar, celebrated with songs and dances, or rested for a day. Celebrated with songs and dances. Exodus 15:1. Then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to the Lord and spoke, saying, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. 34. After which plague did Pharaoh let the Israelites go? Plague of locusts, plague of darkness, plague of the death of firstborns, or plague of boils. Plague of the death of firstborns. Exodus 12:29-31. So Pharaoh rose in the night, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. Then he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, Rise, go out from among my people. 35. What was the nature of the darkness that plagued Egypt? It was a temporary eclipse, heavy cloud, dark fog, or thick darkness that could be felt. Thick darkness that could be felt. Exodus 10:21. Then the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out your hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, darkness which may be even felt. 36. How did the Egyptians treat the Israelites after Moses came to demand their release? Treated them better, ignored them, made them work harder, or began to help them? Made their work harder. Exodus 5:9. Let more work be laid on the men, that they may labor in it, and let them not regard false words. 37. How many Egyptians did Moses kill and hide in the sand before fleeing? 5, 1, 3, or 6? 1. Exodus 2:12. So he looked this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. 38. Who carried the bones of Joseph when the Israelites left Egypt? Aaron, Moses, Joshua, or Miriam? Moses. Exodus 13:19. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had placed the children of Israel under solemn oath, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here with you. 39. What was God's reaction when he saw Israelites looking for manna on the Sabbath? Ignored them, killed them, denied them manna, or was angry? He was angry. Exodus 16:27. Now it happened that some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather, but they found none. And the Lord said to Moses, How long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? 40. Besides the Passover lamb, what else did the Israelites eat on the Passover? Unleavened bread and bitter herbs, unleavened bread and wine, unleavened bread and bitter herbs, or unleavened bread and honey. Unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Exodus 12:8. Then they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire, with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. 41. Moses asked God to send someone else and not him. True. Exodus 4:13. But he said, O my Lord, please send by the hand of whomever else you may send. 42. How is a Passover lamb cooked? Eaten raw, boiled with water, fried with oil, or roasted with fire? Roasted with fire. Exodus 12:8-9. Then they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire, with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its entrails. 43. What was the first plague that struck Egypt? Plague of locusts, water turned to blood, plague of gnats, or plague of frogs? Water turned to blood. Exodus 7:20-21. So he lifted up the rod and struck the waters that were in the river, in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. The fish that were in the river died. 44. Which among these was not among the 10 plagues of Egypt? Plague of earthquakes, plague of flies, or plague of hail? Plague of earthquakes. The 10 plagues are found in Exodus 7-12, and they include water turning to blood, frogs, lice, flies, livestock pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the death of the firstborn. 45. How old was Moses when his mother left him in a basket on the river? 3 months. Exodus 2:2-3. And when she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she took an ark of bulrushes for him, but put the child in it and laid it in the reeds by the river's bank. 46. Who watched over Moses when he was left as a baby in the river? Mother, sister, maid, or Pharaoh's daughter? His sister. Exodus 2:7. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for you?" 47. What did the Israelites do when they saw Pharaoh's chariots pursuing them? Cried and complained, continued marching forward, fought against the Egyptians, or prayed and trusted God? Cried and complained. Exodus 14:10-12. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel were very afraid, and they cried out to the Lord. Then they said to Moses, "Because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness?" 48. Where did God instruct Moses to hide his hand, causing it to be leprous? Sand, bosom, inherited, or his hair? His bosom. Exodus 4:6. Furthermore, the Lord said to him, "Now put your hand in your bosom." And he put his hand in his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous like snow. 49. To which land did Moses go after he fled from Egypt? Philistia, Moab, Canaan, or Midian? Midian. Exodus 2:15. When Pharaoh heard of this matter, he sought to kill Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. 50. It is Moses' mother who named him so. False. Exodus 2:10. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. So she called his name Moses, saying, "Because I drew him out of the water." 51. Who was the second son of Moses? Merari, Kohath, Eleazar, or Phinehas? Eleazar. Exodus 18:2. Then Jethro took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, with her 2 sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he said, "I have been a stranger in a foreign land," and the name of the other was Eleazar. 52. Besides keeping sheep, what else did Moses' father-in-law do? Farmer, priest, warrior, or merchant? Was a priest. Exodus 2:16. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. 53. How many years did the Israelites eat manna in the wilderness? 40, 38, 20, or 30? 40 years. Exodus 16:35. And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. 54. Who held up Moses' hands during the battle against the Amalekites? Aaron and Hur. Exodus 17:12. But Moses' hands became heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady evening. 55. How did God speak to Moses on Mount Horeb? Through a thunderstorm, open vision, burning bush, or an earthquake? Burning bush. Exodus 3:2. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. So he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. 56. How did Moses react when he first saw the burning bush? Prayed for guidance, approached it, ran away in fear, or was not amused? Approached it. Exodus 3:3. Then Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. 57. What did Moses' father-in-law Jethro advise him to do regarding leadership? Abandon the Israelites, select Joshua as a successor, appoint rulers to help him judge, or adapt Egypt's governance? Appoint rulers to help him judge. Exodus 18:21. Moreover, you shall select from all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. 58. What did God provide to the Israelites to eat besides manna? Quails, honey, milk, or locusts? Quails. Exodus 16:13. So it was that quail came up at evening and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. 59. What did God use to carve the Ten Commandments? Fire, his finger, chisel, or sword? Finger. Exodus 31:18. And when he had made end of speaking with him on Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written with the finger of God. 60. Who led the Israelites in battle against the Amalekites? Caleb, Moses, Hur, or Joshua? Joshua. Exodus 17:10. So Joshua did as Moses said to him and fought with Amalek, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. 61. How did God describe the nation he promised to make of the Israelites? Holy nation and kingdom of priests, kingdom of heaven, kingdom of wealth and wisdom, or kingdom of the new earth? Holy nation and kingdom of priests. Exodus 19:5-6. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be a special treasure to me above all people, for all earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. 62. Where was the mercy seat placed? Top of the Ark of the Covenant, inside the Ark of the Covenant, next to the altar of incense, or next to the table of showbread? On top of the Ark of the Covenant. Exodus 26:34. You shall put the mercy seat upon the Ark of the Testimony in the Most Holy. 63. What were the 2 things that the Israelites were instructed to keep the Sabbath day holy? Praise and worship, eat and sleep, fasting and prayer, or rest and worship? Rest and worship. Exodus 20:8-10. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work. 64. What was the fate of those who worshipped the golden calf? They were enslaved, exiled, forgiven, or killed. They were killed. Exodus 32, 27, 28. Let every man put his sword on his side and go in and out from entrance to entrance throughout the camp. And let every man kill his brother, every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. 65. What were the Israelites to do if a family was too small to eat a whole Passover lamb? Store leftovers, share with neighbors, offer leftovers as sacrifice, or give to the priests. Share with their neighbors. Exodus 12:4. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbors next to his house take it according to the number of the persons. According to each man's need, you shall make your count for the lamb. 66. What did Moses use to sweeten the waters of Merah? Stone, sand, piece of wood, or oil? Piece of wood. Exodus 15:25. So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. 67. In their lamentations, what did the Israelites say they missed about Egypt? Bread and meat, beautiful scenery, rivers of cool waters, or wine? Bread and meat. Exodus 16:3. And the children of Israel said to them, Oh that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat and when we ate bread to the full, for you have brought us into this wilderness to kill us. 68. What did God tell Moses to do to the rock at Horeb to bring forth water? Build an altar beside it, strike the rock, pour oil on it, or touch it with a rod? Strike the rock. Exodus 17:6. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink. 69. What was the Israelites' reaction when Moses' face was shown after speaking with God? They were afraid, joyful, did not notice, or praised him. They were afraid. Exodus 34:30. So when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. 70. What important thing did the Israelites say the golden calf did for them? Blessed them with abundance, made them fertile, brought them out of the land of Egypt, or defeated their enemies? Brought them out of the land of Egypt. Exodus 32:4. And he received the gold from their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool, and made a molded calf. Then they said, This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. 71. What did God say he was testing the Israelites by instructing them about collecting manna? Greed, obedience, mindset, or generosity? Obedience. Exodus 16:4. Then the Lord said to Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. 72. How many days and nights was Moses on Mount Sinai receiving the tablets of the law? 30 days and nights, 40 days and nights, 4 days and nights, or 14 days and nights? 40 days and nights. Exodus 24:18. So Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain, and Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. 73. How many men did God command Moses to choose to assist him in governing the people? 100, 24, 70, or 77? 70. Exodus 24:1. Now he said to Moses, "Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship from afar." 74. What were the dimensions of the brazen altar? 5 cubits by 5, 6 cubits by 6, 3 cubits by 2, or 2 cubits by 5? 5 cubits by 5. Exodus 27:1. You shall make an altar of acacia wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. 75. How did the Israelites purify themselves before approaching Mount Sinai? They offered sacrifices, fasted for 40 days, made a feast to the Lord, or washed their clothes. Wash their clothes. Exodus 19:10. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes." 76. What did Moses do with the blood of the covenant? Mixed it with the anointing oil, poured it outside the camp, applied it on the priests, or sprinkled it on the people? Sprinkled it on the people. Exodus 24:8. And Moses took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, "This is the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you according to all these words." 77. How did Moses select the 12 spies? Tribal leaders, men of war, those who sat in the gates, or were the elderly? They were tribal leaders. Exodus 13:1-2. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a leader among them." 78. What was the purpose of the curtain in the tabernacle? For decoration and interior design, block and control light, separate the holy place and the holiest, or keep the animals out? Separate the holy place and the holiest. Exodus 26:33. And you shall hang the veil from the clasps. Then you shall bring the ark of the testimony in there. Behind the veil shall be a divider for you between the holy place and the most holy. 79. What did the Israelites use to anoint the tabernacle and all its furnishings? Olive oil, anointing oil, holy water, or new wine? Anointing oil. Exodus 30:25-26. And you shall make from these a holy anointing oil, an ointment compounded according to the art of the performer. It shall be a holy anointing oil. With it you shall anoint the tabernacle of meeting and the ark. 80. Where did Moses put the 2 tablets of the 10 commandments? On top of the ark, at the door of the tabernacle, next to the mercy seat, or inside the ark? Inside the ark. Exodus 40:20. He took the testimony and put it into the ark, inserted the poles through the rings of the ark, and put the mercy seat on top of the ark. And that's all our questions today. Let us know how you did down below, and then share this with your friends and family so you can compare your scores, and we'll see you guys in the next one.